Gwen was meant to be something that you know and you can rely on.
It's my soup. True.
And coming out for a great steak, but met with all this other brilliant stuff that's not cream spinach that you'd find in other steakhouses. Stuff that's sort of got a bit more gastronomic flair to it.
Service.
We are in Hollywood. We're a butcher and a fine dining meat-centric restaurant.
Great.
Hollywood's this magical place in everyone's eyes, apart from the people that live here in LA. But I sort of wanted to bring back a little like swagger to Hollywood and have something feel like it's been here forever. You know, Frank and Musso's is up the road and they've been there for nearly 100 years. So it's a pretty tall order to think I'll be here in 90 years time, but you never know.
Second first, 30 days.
At Gwen, our day starts pretty early because of the butcher shop. Today we had some pigs come and then we hang them and then we've got to break them down pretty quickly. This is what we call the primal. This is the most expensive part of the hog. So that ends up just straight over the grill. But the rest he turns into magic through the dry cure that we make here.
First step usually will be to remove a kidney. Sometimes we'll grind that up with some ground pork and make a special sausage with it, which we sell in the shop. We make a lot of charcuterie and a lot of salami, which everything gets used.
The butcher-chef relationship in here is super important. The whole notion of this butcher shop is it's zero waste. So anything that would normally get wasted in a butcher shop gets given to us, and that's where our skill comes in as chefs, that we actually know what to do with it and turn it into something really useful.
Now I'm going to take the shoulder primal here and isolate the copa muscle here, which we will cure and hang for 6 months, and it'll make a beautiful copa seca. There's a charcuterie board on the menu that uses our salamis, our whole muscle charcuterie, our pate that's made in-house, and all of those products will be made from essentially all of this. So next step for this would be to turn it into some beautiful rib chops that will go on the menu tonight.
So one thing I've always loved making is fresh pasta. And other than the butcher shop, it's probably what people think of us for the most, I think. So we make it all fresh every morning. The pappardelle is with black truffle. So we shave that table side. We make a little emulsion and we put radicchio for a little bitterness. We also have some hazelnuts, which again, just that beautiful sort of richness. The thing about great pasta is you need to really work the gluten early on in the type 00 flour. It's a bit of a workout. You want to mix the eggs well with the olive oil, some salt. There's only like 4 or 5 ingredients in fresh pasta. And once you sort of got that egg mix right, then you incorporate the flour. So you incorporate all those little dry pieces that come off. It's a pretty exact sort of a recipe. So you got to make sure that you really work that dough hard. I worked for Marco Pierre White in London for 8 years. And I saw how you could take something that was so rustic and simple, but turn it into something really elevated as well. What you'll see as I keep kneading is the hydration of that dough gets better and better. So you really want to hydrate it all the way through. You see how it springs back pretty fast? We're starting to sort of get that elasticity into the dough. And that's later what you're going to feel when you bite that pasta. It gives you that beautiful snap, that nice texture. We wrap it and then we roll it later. So once the pasta's rested, and you can see the difference in the elasticity of the dough straight away. See how that stays imprinted, where before it bounced straight back out because the gluten was really active still. So you start off by just sort of rolling it and having a look at the texture of the dough, making sure you're happy with it. You can always fold it back on itself if you need to. And then you'll start looking for the desired thickness. So that's what's going to give you the nice surface area to be able to cut the pappardelle out of. You need it to be almost see-through. See how my hand is a bit more visible through that sheet. So we're real close. And then we use this little tool. This is what cuts it. Just got to get a bit of pressure on above it. And then each noodle we dry on a little bit of parchment. So one sheet's about a portion. We'll probably walk into a service with 15 orders, 20 orders. I'd be very happy if we sold more than 30 portions of truffle pasta. Then we're ready for service. The fish has just arrived, seafood. So we've got beautiful crabs, Fish, we've got flounder, turbo, oysters. So you just check it for freshness. They're all still alive, which is great. So all this will be sold tonight. There'll be nothing left tomorrow. The only thing that we're doing is we're dry aging the Dorade. So these will be hung for a couple of days.
We're gonna get these Dorade ready to go. We're gonna age them again for 3 to 5 days, typically. They only stay in there about 3 days just because of how busy we are. So right now I'm just removing all the fins and the spine bones at the top. So when we go to age them, that doesn't like hinder us from cutting it. And then we also take a little bit of a toothpick and kind of stick it in to like where the collar is to keep the airflow so the inside doesn't go bad. The reason we are dry aging it is to get that skin extra crispy. And one of the ways to do that is drying it out in the walk-in. Removing these fins as well is very important because what will happen is during the drying process, if you don't take these off, they'll like stick to the skin of the fish, and then what's under the skin will be wet and not dry enough to sear in the Josper. And then we just kind of hang them here because the way the air circulates, it just does like a big loop. And then that'll allow more air to hit those guys. And it's just like a great place to hang it to where there's like nothing really under it except other fish.
Marcel's a champion. He's the head chef here at Gwen. He works his butt off. He's been here for a long time. He was a sous chef for a couple of years before he got promoted to be the head chef. And he's got the respect of everyone that works here. And you get respect from your team by working hard yourself, you know, and then everyone sort of follows suit.
This is gonna be our Hiramasa Kingfish. And this is the fish that we're using on the Crudo right now. We're gonna go down one side of the fillet, and then we're gonna hit the bottom side of the same side. And then we're gonna basically meet it right in the middle, and we're gonna hop over the spine bone just to detach it from both sides of the fillet, top and bottom. Come through, snip the rib bones, and then we're left with just 2 loins and bones down the middle. And instead of pin boning these guys as well, we just come down the center and then cut those bones out, because you'll just tear up the fish and compromise the quality and integrity of the fish. So it's easier just to cut them out. And then we're gonna put them in blocks and then dice it. We do about 60 grams per order, and we'll go through like a quart and a half on a busy night.
So our truffle dealer has just arrived. She comes with a scale. How are you?
Good to see you.
And also wild mushrooms. I call this a pierre de mouton.
Oui.
What do you call it?
Hedgehog.
Hedgehog. So we'll just pick through them. We're very lucky. She lets us take the best of the best. And we'll choose some of those, a little bit of R&D.
Yeah.
So right now our black truffles are coming from Spain. Spain is the largest producer of black truffles in the world. I think around 70% of the production for this species. And then they have a little nick, and so that's to show you the quality on the inside.
You're smelling for ripeness because some are picked before they're super ripe, some are picked right at the right spot. You're also looking for color, so that is nice and dark. So in a black truffle, you want it black, the blacker the better. I'm always looking for something that's ripe and ready to serve because we cook with it as well, so you get a lot of that flavor from what we cook with. So that's 550 grams. They're the winners.
Yeah, they are.
Did we choose the best 2 in the bag?
You did.
Just lie to me if I didn't.
You did.
So I guess one of the big secrets of Gwen is the dry aging of the beef. We have 2 separate rooms. The dry aging room is here, and then the dry cure room is down the hall a little bit. You can dry age things for as long as you want. You can go 21 days, you can take it to 28 days. That's kind of a sweet spot that we really like, 28 days. We have some guests that really like it, rich and funky and really aged, so we'll take things up to 60 days. This is a big primal. You can see on the tag there when we started it and how long it's been aging for. So you can see how hard that is. Like you can barely penetrate it. It gets really dry, really strong crust, and then that mold growth is actually really beneficial for the flavors.
So this is our 30-day dry aged rib section. We dry age the rib section with the feather bones and the lifter attached. It gives you a more milder dry age. Yeah, this is our most popular steak in the restaurant. It's nice and big for sharing, so it's good for the table. Although some people will come in, I've seen like solo diners take one of these down, which is pretty cool. When cutting for the restaurant, they like a certain spec. We do ours at 36 ounces. It just assures that everything's gonna cook at the same time. So I'll just weigh it. I like to hit around 45, 50 ounces before it's clean, which right here it's 45, perfect. That'll yield a perfect 36 ounce portion. Next step is just a cleanup and then a Frenching. I'm gonna take off some of this excess fat here. There's one more step, there's a tying step. It just creates a nice uniform round shape to ensure even cooking all the way around.
So this is the dry cure room. This entire room does one plate in the menu. And I can't tell you how many hours go into it. The way we dry cure all of the pork product that we do with charcuterie, that really is what stands this restaurant apart from lots of other ones. So this is my baby. I found this slicer some years ago. It's a Lario, about 100 years old, and it was serviced by an ex-Ferrari mechanic who was also about 100 years old. So this is the copa, which is the muscle in the shoulder. We do a beautiful bresaola. It's a Wagyu bresaola, so you can see that gorgeous marbling. This course is sort of everything that Gwen is. You know, like it really just shows the relationship between the butcher and the chef, exactly how we go about our food, and the handmade stuff that we make here. You just can't get it anywhere else. This is andouille, which is the spreadable Calabrian style salami. I actually put a dollop of it on the plate, just like that. We always tell our guests to eat the andouille last because it's really quite spicy. And we hand cut the salamis, Wagyu black pepper. So we have all the meats. Now we go and get all of the accoutrement and then we serve it. Caught up. So that's a little mustard, some homemade yuzu pickles, and that is it. So very simple, and it's meant to be really rustic and simple just like that. It's just about eating that, and then we make a beautiful olive oil and sea salt bread that goes with it. We build a fire here in the brasero, which is literally just a fire basket. When that burns, it drops through here, and then we drag it across and we cook indirectly over the grill. It's a super efficient system. You know, for a relatively large restaurant like Gwen, this can keep up with the entire room. Aussies really love barbecue. We call it barbecue, grilling. We're fanatical about it. My nan, Gwen, used to have a fire in her home which heated the water. She cooked on it. It was also the heating of the house. So pretty multifaceted. The smell of this fire still reminds me of being at her house. It's pretty cool. So this guy's a blowpoke. You blow in here, the air comes out there, so you don't have to be too close to the smoke and flame. So it just adds a bit of oxygen to the fire, which gets it going faster. The guys have a little electric thing they use sometimes. I call it cheating. This is for the millennials, you guys, okay? It's a lot easier. It's 2 o'clock, the fires are burning. The cooks are starting to roll in. Service is in a few hours, so it starts to heat up a little bit now. Look, all I ever did was work in great restaurants. That was my career. And then I came to the States and I did a TV show and then another one and then another one, then I wrote a book. And I really missed the restaurants, you know, I really did. So I think the big defining point in my career was deciding to open Maud and diving back into that sort of, you know, what can I do in the kitchen? And I'd probably had a spell of maybe 7 or 8 years at that point, you know, where I wasn't in a restaurant. And food moves, it moves quickly. You know, a lot more technology in the kitchen, a lot more cooking. So you sort of have to make a decision as to what you're gonna come back into the kitchen as. Do you come in as a stick in the mud and say, no, this is the way I learned how to cook and this is what I'm gonna do? Or do you keep trying to learn? And that was my choice, to just you know, continually surround myself with good people, bounce ideas off them, listen to their ideas. So we got these beautiful mushrooms in. So we're gonna have a little play, create a new dish. Show off these beautiful mushrooms. What do you think, Marcy? What should we do?
I have a black garlic puree that I've been working on. That's gonna go well with the mushrooms.
I think it'd be nice to do like a little first course.
Okay.
Maybe it's a first course of the tasting menu.
Oui.
These mushrooms have a tiny little piece underneath. It's not bad to eat. I prefer it without. What if we do something with yolks?
Okay.
So we can confit the yolk.
Yeah.
So it's super warm and moist.
Oui.
Because maybe we can just do it in a little glass.
Okay.
Puree, egg yolk, mushrooms, and then maybe something crispy.
Cool.
Yeah, we're pretty aligned. And when we're not, I just slap him and quickly we get aligned. So we're gonna actually slowly cook the egg yolk in the olive oil. Okay, so it's a super gentle method of cooking. I like to just move it so you know it's not sticking. And then we're just gonna nurse the temperature of this and make sure that we keep it right there at 145.
So this is a black garlic tofu puree.
It's interesting because it's got a lot of umami and it's like nice and earthy, but it's also silky smooth from the tofu and balanced.
Yeah.
I think it'll work really nice, but when you
it'd be
taste
great.
that and imagine egg yolk
Yeah.
and imagine mushrooms,
Yeah.
it's rich. So we need to do something to brighten it.
Like a fresh element or a light element.
What vinegar do we have in house? Do you have like a nice,
We got sherry, apple vin, champagne.
maybe some sherry vinegar?
Sherry? Okay.
We can saute those, do like a nice fricassee, shallots, garlic,
Cool.
and then quite a bit of cherry vinegar.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
And then that'll brighten it up.
Cool.
Yeah, we're just playing with the presentation. I'll eat yours and you can eat mine.
Oui.
It's really pretty. I like it as a first course. The thing about that first course on your tasting menu is you want the guest to have a couple of bites and be like, what more?
Yeah.
You want that excitement. So you need to build it, then the second course comes and we're onto something, Marcel, it's good. Nice one.
What?
Happy Tuesday.
We also have our truffles in as we have all last week. The black truffles are from Spain. They're beautiful. We hand selected them this morning. So the same gnocchi and pappardelle that we had last week, but they're both fabulous. The quality of the truffles is really stellar, which is awesome. Make sure that we really focus on our guests, really think carefully about what we're doing. We're constantly trying to increase our standards and drive for something better than yesterday. So tonight's no different. Let's have a good night, guys. The kitchen's a really interesting place because it transforms throughout the day. You know, it starts off very mellow at the start of the day and then it sort of picks up pace and it gets a bit more intense and everyone starts looking at their watch, wondering whether they're going to be ready for 5:30 when service starts. I'm going to season my ribeye. We only season just before we cook it. That way you don't get any moisture loss from the beef. Now, there's two muscles in the ribeye. That's the longimus dorsi. And that one there is the spinalis dorsi. They eat very differently, but in a ribeye, when you cook it on the bone, you have to cook both muscles the same way. So the bone's gonna protect the meat in here, so you need to cook this side of the steak a little bit quicker. So we start with the bone facing the fire because a little bit more heat's gonna penetrate it from that side. And we're gonna give it maybe 2 or 3 minutes on each side. Start to build that color really slowly. Then we rest, about 5 to 10 minutes. Back on 2 to 3 minutes, second rest, and we keep going with that process until we've got that perfect doneness. I love that. I love how challenging it is because if it was easy, you master it and then you sort of get bored and want to go and do something else. All right, so that's it. It comes off. We let it rest. It's only been on for a total of maybe 5 minutes. So it's still blue. It's not even rare yet. We're going to let it rest for about 5-7 minutes and then we'll get it back on the charcoal.
For all of the steaks, they get a little garnish. And I go to the farmer's market weekly, and depending on what they have, will determine what I get. This week, we did some shopping at Roots Farm, and all of their produce, all their lettuces and kales are fantastic. A little bit of oil, a little smoke, and then from there, we'll hit it with a little lemon. And we typically make like vinaigrettes that we put on to help with the acidity and all the fat from the steak.
When we opened Gwen, we never really thought we're opening it to win a Michelin star. You know, of course you work hard and you take pride in your work and you hope it's recognized, but we didn't set out to win a star. So when we did, we were kind of like, whoa, because it's not your traditional Michelin-starred restaurant. You know, normally Michelin-starred restaurants are a little fancier, white tablecloths is sort of the old school way of thinking about Michelin stars. It's not anymore, but you know, it does put more pressure on you. The first thing we do for for the pasta is make an emulsion with just butter and water. Well, this will continue to come down and thicken. Next we add the pappardelle. It only takes seconds to cook, so we just carefully drop that in. And then into the emulsion we put some radicchio. We take that beautiful black truffle. We also include it in the sauce. Black truffle responds really well to being cooked. My emulsion's getting a tiny bit thick, so you just add a little bit more water. The most important thing you do as a cook is continually taste your food at all different stages. So you got a balance of that rich earthiness from the truffle and the bitterness from the radicchio, which is wonderful. Pappardelle's ready. Touch of cream, little cheese, fresh chives, little black pepper, tiny little lemon just to cut through some of that richness, and we're done. And it goes and gets shaved truffle tableside.
So we have our Dorade here that we prepared earlier. We oiled and salted both sides already to make sure it doesn't stick. We have our lemon, which we're gonna char as well. We're gonna put it right over the coals. So we're starting to get our color now, even though our fish is still a little rare on the top. So I like to move it to the top and continue the cooking process. And then while that's cooking, we also have this like yuzu vinaigrette that we make. And then we kind of put that on the bottom and we're gonna kind of swirl the fish in that once it comes off. So we're pretty good there. So we're like nice and medium right in the middle. And then what I like to do from here is I'll just take it and I'll flip it right on top of that vinaigrette. And then from there, we go straight to the plate. Service is up and going right now. We got a few steaks going and a few guests coming in, but yeah, we're about to get into the thick of things.
Live 30-day and a pork chop.
We pork chop tonight.
I want people to come in and choose their own adventure with the food. That's why we give them a lot of power. You know, our dishes can be eaten individually. They're also wonderful shared. And I never want to tell people one way is better than the other. That's up to you. And I want them to eat wonderful food. I want them to walk out thinking that was one of the best things I've ever eaten. And I want them to feel really special. And that's what we try and do for people every night.